This is We the Sales Engineers Podcast, show 133.
Welcome to We the SEs Podcast, the show for sales engineers by sales engineers with your host, Ramsey Majaba.
What's up, SE Nation? I hope you enjoyed your Halloween. I don't know what you guys did. I hope you were safe. I hope you were able to have fun, especially if you have kids. I know it's important to just go out there and have fun safely. My wife created like a clue course in the backyard, so we were able to do that, and I hope you guys did the same. As long as you had fun and you're safe and everybody's happy and everybody's healthy, that's all that we can ask for this crazy Halloween. I am recording a solo show for the first time in a very long time, and I'm doing that because I had a show coming up tomorrow, I guess Monday. And the gentleman that I interviewed found out that they have strict social media rules, as in they can't talk to people like me without permission, and he didn't have any. So I'm recording this. Like, it's a good thing. I'm happy he was able to tell me before I posted it. And I'm happy because I wanted to talk to you about your resumes. It's the end of the year. A lot of people think about moving jobs or have set goals for the new year. And if you're looking to fix up your resume, I'm going to talk about 8 questions that you need to ask yourself while fixing your resume, whether you're whether you're looking to move into sales engineering or you are a sales engineer and just looking to change jobs. So let's just get started. How about that? The number one question that I always ask myself when I'm writing a resume, or I'm reading somebody else's resume, or I'm reviewing a resume, is what's in it for them? And by them, I mean the company you're applying to. A lot of us write resumes and we just list off like, hey, I know this technology, I know that technology. My job was to mentor, or my job was to support customers. But that does not differentiate us from a million other people probably applying to the job. We have to think of it as what's in it for the company that I'm applying to. How can I get them revenue? How can I help them save time? And as sales engineers, it's easy. You make sales, right? But if you're not a sales engineer, if you're in a different domain, whether you're in software design or product support or product verification or professional services, what have you done that made your company money, helped your company save time? These are the things that you need to brainstorm. And I've looked at so many different resumes and they're never in the resume. And I've worked with a few people where we jumped on a Zoom call like this, except I'm not talking to a camera. I'm actually talking to a human being. And we go through it, and they've done so much. Everyone's done so much for their companies that they don't even realize. A lot of people don't realize their value and the value they bring to the company. So if you take 5 minutes just to ask yourself these questions, or this first question, what's in it for them? What can I do to help that company achieve their goals? And if you can highlight that in the resume, that's a step closer to actually getting a job interview. So that's the number one question. And if you hear my kids yelling, it is Sunday. I'm recording this last minute, so they let me out on Sunday to come and record this for you guys. So forgive the noise if you hear it. If you don't hear it, pretend I didn't say anything. So that's number one. What's in it for them? Number 2 is, how have you made an impact to your company, the company that you work for today? It's in the vein of what's in it for them, but it shows that you've actually done something that has a major impact, whether you created something new, whether you worked on a lot of different features. How have you made an impact? Did you mentor 10 people who followed you and achieved great success? Did you create a specific feature that ended up selling a lot of product for your company? Even if you're not in sales engineering or sales, if you're a software designer and you thought of a feature and you implemented it and it sold, you had an impact on the company. If you found a process that shortened the software development time from whatever to like something way shorter. You've had an impact on your company. I've never seen a single person write, "This is the impact that I've had on the company." You don't have to be blunt. This is the impact I've had on the company, but you can humble brag about what you've done for your company. So that's the second question. The third question is, have you worked with customers? If you're a sales engineer, most of the time, the obvious answer is yes. As sales engineers, we work with customers, but it's not just sales engineers that work with customers. Almost everybody has worked with customers in one way, shape, or form. For example, so professional services, you work with customers. You end up a lot of on-site implementation, or if you're a SaaS, you might do it remotely, but you're working with a customer, or at least you're working for a customer, and they have to sign off and say this was implemented correctly, this was not implemented correctly. So you are working with customers there. So professional services. Support. Who are you supporting? You're supporting the customer. Sometimes there's multi-tiers of support, and the first tier works directly with the customer, the second tier does not. But you end up at some points, like if it's a critical issue, the customer might bypass first tier and talk directly to you. Or you might have to jump on a call and explain something to the customer. So you are working with customers. If you're in IT and you don't work with external customers, let's say you work for an IT of a bank. Generally speaking, the customers for banks are individuals like myself who go in, open accounts, and do all that. But these are not your customers as an IT provider. Your customers are the users who work for the bank. So the tellers, the advisors, whoever, these are your customers, and you work with them. So yes, you do work with customers a lot of times, even if it's internal to the same company. So don't think of it as it has to be someone from outside the company. Your customers, your clients could be within the company. If you're in software design and you've had to meet with customers to discuss a specific feature that they requested, you want more information, you are working with customers. You are trying to sell them something as well. As a software designer, it behooves you to try to sell them something, not necessarily like be pushy and like, oh, we want to sell you this. But in the end, you're creating a product to sell it to them. You're going to be doing discovery with the customer to make sure you understand the features that they require exactly the way they want it. So you are part of the sales process. And almost everybody I've seen works with customers one way, shape, or form. In my company, we have, if there's an alpha release for a specific feature, I'm not doing the demo. I've never even seen this product. I don't know how to click anything. I don't know how to highlight its strengths and weaknesses when it's an alpha release. That's where product management comes in. And that's where software designers come in, or even product verification. A lot of people work with customers, but it's not their official capacity. And there's a difference between official job description and non-official job description. No one's like a software designer's job description is not to work with customers, it's to design stuff. But unofficially, you're going to end up talking to customers at some point. So add that to your resume. That's how you've made an impact to the company. You've worked with customers and you've helped sell. If you did your job well, it's so easy for the salesperson to sell the product at that point. So that is something to keep in mind. So again, I'm going to repeat the first three. What's in it for them? How have you made an impact? And have you worked with customers? These are the things that you need to ask yourself while creating a sales engineering specific resume, because they highlight what you've done for the company. And now you want to write about exact numbers. Do you have exact numbers? As sales engineers, we have exact numbers. I've achieved 94% of quota for the year of 20, whatever. I've achieved 120%. I've achieved whatever. I've won back 4 customers. I've broken into 10 customers. So I'll have numbers. And now as someone who's not in sales engineering, you're going to need to figure out what numbers you need to put in. So I was in network design before I became a sales engineer. I worked on $3 million worth of projects in 6-month span. I did not add that to my resume. I should have. I didn't know better. But you should write stuff like that. In 6 months, I worked on $3 million worth of projects as a professional services or as a network design engineer. That shows all the above. I made an impact. This is what's in it for them. I'm going to work on $3 million, at least $3 million worth of projects for you in 6 months. And I've worked with customers that well, throughout the resume that shows. If you're a software designer, you worked on specific features that sold a certain amount, you should write that down. I know not all sales software engineers are privy to that information, but you can ask your product manager, like, hey, you just made me work on this new feature, and I spent, I don't know how many months working 10-hour days or 12 or 15-hour days to get this done for you. How much did we sell in the last year? Get that information. Put it in your resume. You don't have to name the specific features, but it shows, again, the impact and what you've done for the company, what's in it for them. Even if you're going for a software engineering role. So, number 5 is, how have you gone above and beyond? So when I worked in my previous company, my job was not support. If I'm supporting the customer, that means I'm not selling somebody else. That was the rule. But I had repeat customers, so I needed to show them that I'm there. Going above and beyond was simply being the person who helps them out, not necessarily the guy who's supporting them and fixing their problem, but managing the issue. Like, you don't have to talk to 5 different people, Mr. Customer, to resolve this issue. You talk to me, I will talk to the 5 different people for you. That's going above and beyond. When I was an intern at Nortel, I created an automation script to replace me, I guess. That is going above and beyond. Now, the manager didn't like it, mainly because he wanted me to be around clicking, but I wrote that down in my resume. I created an automation script to replace me, so I can do other things, more important things, whatever. But these are things that you showed that you've gone above and beyond. No one told me to do it. I did it. They weren't happy in the end, but I still tried. What have you done to go above and beyond? As sales engineers, a lot of people are going out on LinkedIn and YouTube and creating videos for their companies. They're doing webinars. They're raising their hand and volunteering to do things that is not part of their job description. I mean, my job description is not to create YouTube videos for my company or do like daily webinars. I am trying to do all that. I am working on that. And I know a lot of sales engineers that are out there are doing that for their company. I think there's a gentleman by the name of Bo Lamb. Let me make sure that's right. LinkedIn. So I've never met this person, but he's a connection of a connection. Five. Anyways, so when I find out, I'll leave a link in the show notes for that person. He's creating LinkedIn lives. He's doing LinkedIn interviews. He's out there and he's talking about his own company. He's talking about F5. He's going above and beyond for his company. That's showing the impact, what's in it for them. I don't think anyone asked him to do that. So think of ways that you can go above and beyond. If you haven't done that yet, keep in mind that your resume is not finished ever. You're going to always have to update it. So if this month you look back and you say, hey, I haven't done anything to show that I've went above and beyond, I'm going to create 2 YouTube videos for the month of November. So when you hit the 2 videos, when you create it, December, guess what you're writing in your resume? You're writing that you created 2 YouTube videos for your company with their permission, whatever, to highlight the strengths and weaknesses of that. Not only that, you can also show like it was shared X amount of times, or liked this amount of times. And if you can find that information of how much leads it got to your company, you can always share that as well in the resume. All right. Number 6, the biggest mistake I see is bullet format skills. Right? AWS, Azure, SQL, C++, whatever. They're in bullet point format. And whenever I talk to the people who wrote their skills in that form, their complaint is, well, like, they wanted this specific technology, which I didn't really know very well. So I didn't put it in there. But that doesn't make sense. You know it, just not very well. You know Azure, AWS, those types of technologies, you know them very well. So why don't you just say, I have expert knowledge or very well versed in yada, yada, yada. And then in the end, when you're talking about the things that you don't know very well, you can say working knowledge. And it's not tricking anybody. You're saying working knowledge. You're saying, like, I can figure it out, basically. And that does two things. It helps you get past the computers who are looking at your resume so it can get to the hiring manager, and you're not lying. Right? It's obviously bad to lie. If you've never heard about a technology and you just put it in your resume just to get past I think it's called ATS. If you're just doing that, then you're lying and you're going to get found out fairly quickly. But if you write the level of knowledge that you have, for example, I use VMware in virtualization. I use specifically ESXi. I use it quite a bit. I'm familiar with VMware as a whole. I'd love to be more familiar, but that's pretty much the knowledge that I have. In my resume, it doesn't say expert knowledge in, it says working knowledge in. I know how to upload a VM. I know how to run it. I know how to debug it, why it's not working. I know how to play around with it. So when I'm talking if I ever get an interview and they ask me, oh, you know VMware, it's like, yeah, I used it for this purposes. I have working knowledge of this. I had to learn it on my own. No one was there to show me, whatever. And it highlights that, hey, I learned something on my own to do my job. It wasn't my job to learn the whole thing. It was just, I did it as part of my job. And then I was able to do my job. So you're not lying. You're just qualifying how much you know certain things. And especially if you're looking at a job description and it has a bunch of stuff that you have used in the past, but you're not an expert in. Like, I've used Linux. I'm not an expert in Linux, so I have working knowledge in Linux. I could probably go on YouTube and figure out a lot of stuff. But when it comes down to the interview, I'm not going to say, oh yeah, I'm an expert in Linux. I'm going to say I used it on occasion. It's not, I don't use it as part of my job. I use it as a hobby, whatever. So keep in mind, your knowledge is not binary. You don't have expert knowledge or no knowledge at all. You have a whole scale of different types of knowledge, working knowledge, whatever. Figure out your own words. I can't even remember what I use. I use working knowledge, expert knowledge, and very knowledgeable in, or whatever. So just keep that in mind. It doesn't have to be black and white. It doesn't have to be, there's a whole lot of gray involved there. All right, number 7. How have you improved yourself in the last year? What have you done to get better? Right? Do you use online labs? Do you have a lab in your own office, in your home office? Do you use Workstation on your laptop? Did you create some certification, or did you go through some certain certifications? They're not the end all be all. The certifications themselves, they're not the end all be all of me hiring someone, but it shows that I'm like, you're taking initiative. You're trying to learn some stuff on your own. You enjoy what you do. It's hard to hire someone who hates what he does or she does. So keep that in mind. How have you improved yourself lately? For me, I haven't done a lot of technical certifications in a while because I kind of focused on We the SEs because I felt I was lacking in the human skills portion or in the sales skills portion. I was very good with human beings. I just didn't have the sales skills initially. So I focused on that. That's what I've done to improve myself. And it is in my resume. I have it in my resume that I'm actually doing this to improve as a sales engineer. And number 8, the last question of the show that I think you should ask yourself is, how can I write it better? I'm not sure who said it, but someone said, forgive me for this long essay. I wasn't good enough to write it shorter. I think it was Mark Twain or something. I have to look that up now again. Anyways, how can you write it better? How can you make it shorter? How can you combine multiple bullet points into one? The longer it is, the more the sales manager or the hiring manager has to go through to find exactly what they want. How can you highlight the things that you want them to see easier so you can push their eyes towards what you want them to see, make it easy for them to want to talk to you. It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be short. Generally speaking, 2 pages is the best. I've seen someone with like 15-year experience who has a 1-pager. I'm like, you can afford to write another page because it doesn't have everything that would make you look better. You don't have to list everything that you've done. I don't list Nortel anymore in my job resume because I stopped working at Nortel in 2008. So that's 12 years ago. My job there was a software intern. So I did sanity checks and I wrote code, neither of which I do today, and I have no desire to go back and doing in the future. So that experience means nothing to the hiring managers that are looking to hire someone with networking experience. They have nothing to do with each other. Why should I have it on my resume? How does that add value to my skills? And what does it add value to the hiring manager who's reading it? They won't care. So I don't put it in there anymore. I may have a header as software intern at Nortel, but I don't go into details of what I have done there. And if I have, for example, I was a sales engineer in 2 different companies. I've done similar stuff in both companies. I don't repeat the same things that I've done in 2 companies. I put it always in the latest one, like mentored, whatever. I put it in the latest one if it's true. If it's not true, then I don't put it. I keep it in wherever I did it. So these are 8 questions, and there's a lot more, but I'm going to leave it there. This Wednesday at 5 p.m. So if you're listening to this on November 2nd, on a Monday, the Wednesday, the 4th of November at 5 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to do a LinkedIn Live where I'm going to review LinkedIn profiles for people who come on the LinkedIn Live. If you're interested in that, come and join me. I will send an email to my email list to remind them if that's what they're interested in. And yeah, that's it for today. Thank you guys for listening to me. I hope this adds value to you, whether you're a sales engineer looking to move. Oh, I'm going to give you a bonus question that you should ask. Is it balanced between business and technology? As sales engineers, we need to be balanced between the technology and the business. One cannot go over the other. If your resume doesn't have any technology in it, you're not a sales engineer. You're a salesperson at that point. Keep in mind, you have to know the technology or know some technology, show that you can learn more technology. If you're trying to move industries or move jobs that has more technology that you need to learn, show that you do that. And make sure that you can modify your resume easily between different job opportunities that you're applying to. All right. Wednesday, I will see you guys there if you're able to make it. Thank you guys for listening to me. And I will see you guys next time. For the Invisible Benny, this is Ramsey signing off.